Welcome back to the Frith Podcast. I'm your host, Eric.
And I'm co-host Scott.
And today we'll be going over chapters 36 through 40 of Academy Arcanist. We are coming to the very end. We're almost there. We have one more section of chapters after this. It's crazy how quickly we get to the end of the book, and then, the roller coaster of emotion, and then we're moving to the next one.
Still got a lot of twists and turns to uncover, so.
Yes, do not think for a second that we are anywhere close to being done.
Ending coming.
And also with Elder Arcanist, I believe this is supposed to be the last installation of the series. That should be coming out in January. So a couple months from when this is posted, January of 2026. Super excited. I know we're getting close to, or have possibly already said hello to John Stovall IV. And we wish her a happy and safe recovery and welcome him to the world. And with that, we will get into chapter 36, Practice. So Gray and Twain practice transforming using magic, and they started off using the ethereal whelk. And I feel like that was a pretty bold move because, that's one of the most difficult ones to try to, practice with because it's the most straining. I believe he probably should have started with the Reaper or with the Nightmare. So that way he can get a little bit more time in and practice in with it. Again, it is my opinion on it, but I know it feels like he's definitely should have started off better. Gray ends up switching to the Coatl, so we have Phylas. Yes, and Soren ends up learning how to shadow step, and this is something that Gray was kind of jealous about, and I don't blame him at all.
It's one of the coolest abilities out there.
Exactly. But then Gray remembers, he's got a mimic, so he can literally use it when he wants. Soren does also want to practice using his tears, since him and Nini do not have the ability to affect each other, so they don't know when they're actually using their evocation. So very unfortunately, Gray gets to be the nativial guinea pig and gets to figure out what these tears are going to be like. It is getting kind of late, so they end up turning in for the night, and Gray still wants to try to dream walk. So we're gonna look to see what is ahead in the next chapter.
Leads right into chapter 37, the Dreamscape. So they sneak back into the dorms. Soren does tuck him in, which I think is just really cute and big brothery. Well, I don't know that my big brother would have ever tucked me in, but it's very cute, and
we understand what he's going for.
Yes, I appreciate the gesture. He does want to talk about their mom song. Gray kind of pushes it off, so there seems to be this, obviously Soren's much more emotionally connected than Gray, but still trying to bridge that gap between them. As Gray's doing his dream walking, he does find Raza dreaming of men wearing masks. There's also a plethora of other dreams that he goes through. It seems everybody's having all these crazy dreams, but it's too many to really sift through. So instead of trying to find Helmith by a dream, reaches out to find the string for her magic. And when he does this, he is able to connect with her. She says she's in the basement, but does warn him not to go rashly, and actually descends to send the others in first. And this is the first time, I think, in a book that they've actually listened to that advice and not just randomly gone off to go find.
Yeah, because Ilya definitely did not do that. Volk definitely did not do that. Any other movie or book series, I feel like when they say, hey, do this, they do the complete opposite to actually try to help things out.
Yeah, but they were smart, and they said, you know what, we're tired, we need some rest. So the next day they do have, they're supposed to have combat arts with Professor Gijo, but he's away on sabbatical or something. He's just not there. So Leon's leading it instead. Ross is very excited because they actually get to fight. Gray does debate whether he should tell Ashlyn or not, but ultimately comes down that he isn't really sure why Helmith is being impersonated, who's doing it, so he's trying to keep as tight a circle as possible as he can. And then we do end with them talking about the clubs that they're going to join and how Soren especially wants to join the boating club.
And this is where chapter 38, the boating club, picks up at. I think it was Twain that said that joining a club is essentially for a bunch of tryhards being up that early on a Sunday morning on their only day off from the week.
Yeah, that's kind of true. Like, it's like, oh, yeah, I see where you're coming from.
They end up getting down to the lake, and they find out that they're actually not going to be learning how to sail, that this is more for like a leisurely stroll across the lake over to a good spot for a picnic, and that's essentially what it is. Phyla ends up coming down there, and she's really excited to learn how to swim, as she has not ever been able to. Her nursemaid said it was too dangerous, and even her coatl is saying it's too dangerous, and Gray and Soren are like, that's nothing. I don't know why you're thinking this is dangerous at all. Like, we grew up swimming our whole lives, so gives you kind of that perspective of Phyla's upbringing versus Gray and Soren's upbringing. Phyla does mention about how cool the ship is and how it must use wind to get across places, as if this isn't like a normal thing. And then she mentions that there's a steamboat back where she is from, and that this is more like the standard than it is anything else, and that this is absolutely totally news to Gray and Soren. And I like to see the progression of technology as far as that goes, because not surprisingly, back in Thronehold, they have those contraptions that move around the will-o-wisp magic. So essentially the same concept of using the steam. We were up on the ship talking with some crew members, and we find out they're not going to actually set sail to go out in the lake today because one of the helmsmen ended up dying in his sleep. And then they're like, well, it was the older of the twins. And this is, I think, where the light bulb finally clicked with Gray, and he's like, oh my gosh, the older twin is the one being killed. And he finally was like, okay, I think I really need to go see the headmaster and tell him what's going on. That
brings us to chapter 39, Twins. So they are heading to the headmaster. When they get there, Leon's yelling at Piper for being late to class. We find out that her wife actually eloped with someone else, which is catastrophic. But unfortunately, amidst this drama, we do not have the headmaster. But all the other professors are there. Leon does believe him and tells him to go to the dorms, essentially like, go hide out, you are in danger while we figure out what's going on.
Wait a minute. You're saying not only did they go to tell the headmaster what's going on, they were told to go somewhere to wait for him to basically help them with whatever the situation is, and they listened?
It's wild. See, we told you there's twists and turns,
I say this is the god honest, like the biggest twist and turn that you could ever throw in a book.
So they do, like I said, they listen. They're in the dorms, and there is a knock at the door, and it is Nini. She's been practicing her magic, and essentially she finds out that she can take blood and do blood magic, turn it into daggers, throw it, step through it. That's kind of the key piece of her magic. Soren is immediately concerned, like, you shouldn't be using your blood. Waste chimes in that he wanted to use Exy's blood, which I thought was hilarious. And Soren says, no, we should use animals, not people, which I don't like testing on animals, but it is better than killing Exy, so.
Well, he even offered a fairly reasonable solution to that of, like, well, they're going to have to butcher animals to provide food for us, so, like, they're not killing them on just solely so she can practice her magic, like, kind of reusing things, just like Rocky says, don't lose it, reuse it.
Exactly. And at this point, we get another knock on the door.
And this is where chapter 40 takes off at with the beauty of words. We are taken to the headmaster's office to meet with Professor Helmith. Captain Leon is escorting them there. As we're sitting in the headmaster's office, Soren notices there's something off, and he uses a challenge and countersign to determine who and if Thurin is really real. And for those that are maybe somewhat unfamiliar with this, this is a common thing. Basically, you say one word and your if they're a friendly person, they should know what to say after. So, from like World War II, it was Flash, and then they were supposed to say Thunder or something like that. Welcome, I think, was the other one. So this is just a sly use of history to determine if they are in fact in the dream world or not. They realize they're in the dream. Thurin doesn't know how to react to this. And then Waste starts to talk on behalf of whomever is the villain here. And I just want to think about how creepy that is, that Waste is the one that's talking, because he's the Death Eldarin. So quick on his feet, Gray uses his Welk magic to wake them up, and they are ended up lying in the basement where the gate of crossing is. Zahn has a soul catcher mark on his forehead, and we kind of get that light bulb of Zahn is actually a mimic arcanist, and we have a fake the fake Helmith standing there, and we find out that she actually is in fact a doppelganger arcanist.
It explains why his Rizzle wasn't Rizzly. It's not a real Rizzle.
That's why he thought the Rizzles looked alike. Because they were the same Rizzle.
They were. It was the same Rizzle.
Now we get the lowdown from the villain of their dastardly plans, and they begin to explain that they're going to try to open the gate to the Abyssal Hells. As if this wasn't something that they were talking about in class as a theory this whole time.
I love just the fact that, like, I'm building a gateway to hell in the basement.
But then he keeps disguising it as, oh, it's a gate of crossing for everybody to use without having to use star shards.
Yep. Secret lab project.
Earlier.
Yeah. It's clever. I'll give it to him.
I mean, he was probably really pissed off with Nazbit and all the others when they're like, I summoned it in the Amber Dunes, and actually, this does not come from there. With that, this ends this week's chapters of 36 through 40. Again, we will be finishing the book off next week with our chapters 41 through 43 of the actual book, and then we have the blooper scene, which we will get into as well, because I so much enjoy these blooper scenes. I'm so thankful that Shammy has included them in the book and not just in the Arcanist Fables.
Yeah, it is, because it gives you that little moment. It's like the thing that you really want to happen, but you know does not fit in the story. So it's such a good play. It's a little rewrite of something. They're amazing.
And I like it because it's more of like your epilogue to the book. A lot of the books I listen to, they have the prelogue and epilogue. I really like the epilogue of. You don't have to read it, but it's that just a little bit of more information that you get to have. And
yes, close the loop.
Amazing. Yes. So with that, though, we will end today's episode, and we'll catch you guys next week. Scott, did you have anything else you'd like to add?
No, big. We got Halloween coming up, so big spookies.
Yes. I think actually next week's episode it will be Halloween.
Woo! So many spookies.
All right, we'll catch you guys next week.